Thank you very much, Dr. Bhandari, for setting up the conversation. I'm very excited to be part of this discussion. My wife, I are co-founders at Sath Health, and our mission is to build healthier communities. What I want to do is spend about 10 minutes talking through what we do at Sath Health. But I think before we talk about what we do, it's important to talk a little bit about why we do what we do. Just a quick background, Dr. Bhandari spoke about this. So I started my career after my medical graduation working for the pharmaceutical industry. And then for the last 10 years, I spent working at the intersection of health, technology, and consumer focused communications. So going back to 2009, we were building digital platforms for rural patients, HIV/AIDS patients out of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, then done a ton of work with maternal health, building digital platforms for them. And this is when we were not using data, but we were using voice-based solutions. And so over the last 10 or 12 years, I have seen the evolution of expectations of health consumers. And this is across different segments in India. I'm talking about rural segments as well as obviously the urban affluent users. And what I've seen is what really convinced us that there is a need to start looking at patients as the primary driver of the healthcare supply chain and start to reimagine the healthcare process. So very quickly, the context in which we work, there are two lenses we use to frame the problem that we are trying to solve. The first is that healthcare is there at a critical inflection point, and I'm not referring to COVID. COVID has exacerbated a lot of underlying challenges with healthcare, but there has been huge disease burden, and we do a lot of work in chronic diseases, and there is a huge amount of challenges, especially in low and middle income countries that are grappling with the challenge of infectious diseases and chronic diseases. Uh, the burden of chronic diseases is going up significantly. It's gone up significantly from 2008, where it was responsible for 63% of global deaths, to 2016, it's now 71%, and increasing, especially in low and middle income countries. COVID is exacerbating a lot of the challenges. We know that patients with chronic diseases are suffering more and more from COVID. There is a huge demand for healthcare that is going to get worse over the next 5 to 10 years. On the supply side, there is a limit to how much supply can expand. So there is a need to train more healthcare workers. There is a need to get more and more workers out there. But at least in my lifetime, I don't think we're going to have enough healthcare workers to meet the burgeoning demand from healthcare consumers. There's a lot of data indicating that post COVID, there's going to be a significant inflation in healthcare costs. The figure that you see on the right is coming out of some interesting work done in the US. But we see that in India as well. Patients with chronic diseases are delaying elective surgeries, they're delaying going to the hospital. And all of this we think is going to add up to debt that's going to place even greater amount of strain on healthcare systems. Mr. Vatikuri talked earlier about the lack of resources. We don't have the resources, financial resources or human resources, to keep up with the increasing demand of healthcare in most countries around the world. It doesn't really matter if it's India or the developed countries. We don't have the resources to keep spending on healthcare the way we have over the last 100 years. So what's really needed is to start thinking out of box solutions, to start containing and start addressing this huge demand that we cannot address with the current supply side models. So that's one lens that we take. The other lens that we take is just working with healthcare consumers over the last 10 years. There has been a dramatic shift in what they expect. So one of the things that we look a lot at is the journey of a healthcare consumer, and the journey of the healthcare consumer cannot be framed only in the context of their health needs. These are also consumers who are consuming other products and services. And just the mobile revolution in the last 20 years has completely changed expectations of consumers around the world. Healthcare is one of the few domains left where consumers don't have two things that they have in virtually everything: choice and autonomy. They don't uh, they don't have access to those things in healthcare. Very often people don't know what they are paying for. They don't know how to measure what the impact of what they are paying for. And so there is this unique situation where healthcare consumers are not happy with what they are getting. They don't know how to measure the impact of it, but they want to be part of the discussion. That was not the case 2 decades back. Now they want to be absolutely part of this discussion. So there is this situation where demand's going up, supply side is not keeping up, and healthcare consumers are demanding more and more out of healthcare systems. So we see three models emerging. There are healthcare systems that are still to my knowledge, stuck in the 20th century, just trying to operate the way they were operating, 30, 40 years back. There are some healthcare systems that are trying to adapt to technology, but essentially what they are doing is digitizing existing workflows. They still continue to operate the way they were operating 10 years back, 20 years back. They do insert a little technology in between. So there's an app that's inserted, but they really are not imagining or reimagining the patient workflows. And the third is there's a huge group of digital health startups, and both globally as well as in India, who are trying to look at things from a consumer side. But what they don't end up doing is really integrating with what traditional healthcare supply chains are doing. So in this scenario, what we do is there's a lot of innovation that requires to be done on the supply side. So, I'm not for 1 minute arguing that we don't need more healthcare workers, we don't need more supply side innovation, but our focus is to really get to patients and consumers where they are. Dr. Bhandari talked about his reticence for AI, and I'll speak about what we are doing with AI as well. But essentially, what we think can be done is getting to patients and health consumers where they are and giving them the tools to start investing in their own preventive health solutions. We built two assets to enable that. The first is a digital platform which combines two product suites, Power.ai and Intelligentsia, and I'll talk about that briefly. So Power.ai is essentially a digital pipe that we've built. It's a modular platform where I can deploy the platform to push out personalized behavior change communications to patients wherever they are. So a patient with hypertension in Mumbai can get a very different experience than a patient with hypertension and diabetes in Delhi, or a patient with hypertension, diabetes, and nephropathy in Bihar. We can personalize the experience for them. It's very modular. It can be driven by a variety of variables. So they all get a journey that's personalized to gender, geography, and also the stage of the journey that they are at. For example, a patient with 30 years of hypertension doesn't need the same behavior change communication or nudges than a patient who's newly been diagnosed with hypertension. So that's a digital pipe that allows us to get to patients wherever they are, and we can deploy this anywhere in the world in 8 to 12 weeks flat. But equally importantly, the same pipe is very, very important to collect back real world insights from patients. Most innovation, at least on the pharmaceutical side, is driven by patient data when they get to clinics or facilities. And increasingly, most innovators are looking at understanding patient behaviors within communities. And we think that once you have the platform to reach patients where they are, you also have the unique ability to capture their real world behaviors and the real world preferences and insights around those, and use that to inform innovation. So that's what Power.ai does. It's a way to get to a patient. Intelligentsia is a suite of AI-based algorithms. So we've deployed this platform, in our index use cases for children's health in India. We deployed it for parents of within low to middle income communities, for parents of children between 0 to 6, to drive them towards improvements in children's health and nutrition outcomes. We collected data from these users, about 15 million health consumer data points, and we built machine learning algorithms that allow us to do two things that we think are critical for digital engagement. The first is it allows us to predict user churn on digital platforms. And as many of you may know, digital churn is a real problem in healthcare. About 97% of users churn off digital platforms within the first 1 month. So just being able to understand, profile, and splice which profile of consumers are churning out at which point in their journey is very powerful to increase engagement with these consumers. The second thing we've built is a Netflix style health recommender system that essentially allows us to increase the right kind of content that we can surface to these consumers. And we've shown a 50% increase in engagement with the use of this Netflix style health recommender system. So Powai is a way to get to a consumer. Intelligentsia is a way to augment digital engagement to a point where we can actually get them to respond to the behavior change nudges. We also have a scientific and a creative communications team whose job is to really craft the behavior change communications. And one of our biggest insights over the last 10 years of work, and we are applying that in Sath Health, is that we tend to look at patients within healthcare, we tend to look at patients in a very siloed fashion. So a patient with diabetes is also a father, is also somebody who goes to work, and he or she doesn't get up in the morning looking forward to watching a YouTube video about diabetes, right? So when we create diabetes content, we should assume that this is not interesting. They don't want to do this. They would rather go watch something on Netflix or YouTube or TikTok. And I think why that insight is important is because as if we want to start shaping their communications, we have to start competing with the other things that are in the mind of that health consumer. So our behavior change communication needs to be interesting, it needs to be infotaining, it needs to be gamified, it needs to be interactive, all the stuff that consumer tech companies are doing. However, making sure that it doesn't get flippant. So that's been a big insight. How do you to engage health consumers? You really have to compete with everything else that's going around in their lives. So this is a little bit about the algorithms that we're building. We're very early stage for what we are building. We've peer reviewed. We published one paper. Our second paper is currently being peer reviewed. But there's a huge number of use cases that we think can be unfolded that we are working on. Essentially, being able to inform healthcare organizations, giving them being able to give them the understanding of which patients are likely to churn out at which point in their journey can be hugely important for us to start optimizing their interactions. This is the work we've done with Children's Health. Our app is available. This is a free app that we've deployed with low to middle income communities. We used a lot of learnings from some of the leading consumer tech organizations. So our approach was, typically for Children's Health, most of the communication centers around, if you don't vaccinate your child, they will have these diseases. It's very negative, scary insinuations, and our communication is very positive, happy, aspirational. We've used a lot of gamification, which people initially, when we launched this in 2018, people thought that this is not for our consumers. The low income communities are not ready for this, and we have seen that they are ready for this more than most other communities. We've seen such sophisticated mobile behaviors from extremely low income communities within Mumbai and within Uttar Pradesh that we've been blown away with what can happen if you put the right tools in their hands. We have a lot of impact data, shifts in knowledge, shifts in behavior, and also shifts in purchasing practices around high nutrition products. I won't go into those into details. Some of the focus areas in which we work, we are really agnostic. Our platform is agnostic. As I mentioned earlier, these are some of the areas that we have worked in and we continue to work in. And I just want to end with a couple of things. I think uh, what the vision is, and I think I've grappled with this as well. I mean, Dr. Bhandari talked about this earlier. Telemedicine has been around. There's been an upsurge in telemedicine in the last year. Is it going to last? Maybe some of it will last organically because of the spillover effect of what's happening during the pandemic. But I feel that unless and until we start reimagining the entire healthcare experience from a patient perspective, we run the risk of slipping back into old ways of doing business. And like I mentioned earlier, the old ways of doing business are just not sustainable. We don't have the money, we don't have the resources to keep doing that. And so we need to start reimagining what the healthcare system of the future looks like, putting first the patient at the center, then start thinking about the digital technologies around the patient, then the healthcare workers, then the doctor, and at the end, maybe we'll think about the brick and mortar investments we need. Let's not start thinking of the future healthcare system, with a 300-bed hospital to start with, because a lot of people do that. Let's think of the patient, and that's the way to go if you really want to make sustainable changes to how we are virtualizing healthcare in the future. That's all for my comments right now. Would love to interact with the rest of the panelists and the audience subsequently.